Welcome to Mo's Market Pulse. I'm your host, Sara Mokaram, founder of Mo Digital Solutions, where we help businesses hit their revenue goals and thrive. On this podcast, we talk with industry leaders about their business market trends, growth strategies, and what's ahead. Today, I'm joined by Joe Martin, Chief Marketing Officer from Zight, a visual communication platform helping teams collaborate faster with video, screenshots, and GIFs. We'll dive into their journey, the evolution from CloudApp to Zight, and how they're reshaping how teams communicate in a hybrid world. So, Joe, thank you again for joining today. And I would like to just start by getting to know you and your role a bit more. I always think it's helpful for listeners to understand the journey behind the business and the people leading it. So, can you just share your personal journey? What led you
Yeah,
into this space and how did you end up at Zight?
absolutely. Yeah. So going all the way back, I've been doing marketing for about 20 years and I am a numbers guy. I was a finance undergrad, loved data, always loved math. But it wasn't creative enough for me. I was working for a real estate development company and it was just kind of boring working in spreadsheets and things. So I went back to business school, learned more about marketing, and it was kind of coming on. Digital marketing was really coming on. And so I found that as a really enticing way to match data with creativity because in the past, marketing was just like throw a billboard up, throw a TV up, and we don't really have any way to track anything. Now every dollar can be tracked, which is pretty cool. So I really was at a startup kind of post grad school. And then I was at Adobe for 8 years. And that was kind of where I learned the bulk of my skills. It was really cool to work at a big company. And I took executives out to lunch multiple times a month just to pick their brain and learn about product and was just a student while I was there. Got to do some really cool things, ended up being a director, leading social and some other marketing orgs. And I really reached the point that I really recognized that I didn't want to be CMO at a big company like that. Just a lot of work, a lot of travel. I had little kids. I enjoyed spending time with them and wanted to see them grow up. So I made the move to a startup, which was called CloudApp at the time. Spent 3 years there building the company, um, and got an opportunity to go lead kind of a mid-sized company called Scorpion. So I was a CMO there for a little bit, had a huge budget, and that was my toe dip in the mid-sized company. It's around a 200 million ARR company, and realized again that I love the startup. So I'd always kind of consulted with CloudApp and the CEO, his name's Scott Smith. So him and I were having lunch one day and it was like, hey, let's get the band back together. I still had a ton of shares from when I was there the first time. So I still invested in the company and came back. We'd gone through a rebrand. We're now Zight, and really like the product is at such a cool point right now from where when I first started. And we just have great leadership. We have a really fun team. Everybody loves our product. We've had over 5 million people try it, great reviews everywhere. And I loved it so much when I was working at Adobe that I joined the company. That's kind of my line that I use all the time.
That's great. And for folks who might not be familiar with Zight, how would you describe the platform and what it does and who it's for and just, who
Sure.
your target clients are?
So video, we're talking on video right now. Video really took off probably 15 years ago. It took over phone calls and conference calls. Everyone started doing video. And this is really an async video tool. So you can both record video and also request video from the customer side. And it creates a nice way to communicate what you need without necessarily needing a meeting, not having long back and forths if you're a customer support team. You can send a quick video, fix the problem, or send a request video and have them show you what the issue is. Sales teams, you can increase the amount of open rates with, starting with a GIF or video of yourself waving or just some sort of connection outside of just blocks of content. I use it all the time for communicating with my designers who, are not based in my time zone. So it's a nice way that we can communicate without having to jump on a call. And it all really flows nicely with other workflows. Like you can drop a link, a Zight link into Slack, pulls up a nice pop-up of a video. You can click it, play it in Slack. And then lastly, our AI piece, it automatically creates documentation for you. So based on your transcript, it can create an SOP, it can create a bug report, it can create a how-to guide. So it really, and then that automatically links to Zendesk or Jira or Asana, whatever tool you're using. And so it makes it so you can just record a video and really cut out the need for a lot of back and forth with documentation.
Wow, that seems like a super helpful tool. And I love the video communication piece because you can really put so much content in a shorter clip, right? Or you can connect on a different level than having someone read paragraphs and paragraphs of messaging. So that's really, really neat. So
Absolutely.
now that we have some background, I just want to zoom out a bit and just hear your thoughts on the broader landscape and industry. What major trends are you seeing right now in the visual communication or collaboration space?
Yeah. So, I mean, our primary industry is B2B. So I can focus mostly on that. I think we're kind of in an ecosystem of hell with B2B, is what I call it. We're all using each other's tools, and it's obviously been kind of a weird couple of years post COVID. So you'll have companies who had hundreds of licenses with us, but then suddenly they have layoffs of 50 to 100 employees, and then they cut those licenses, and then we have to cut licenses for tools we're using, and it just kind of is this contraction focus. So I've also seen that there's been a difference in marketing that I've had to figure out. So traffic is going up and organic is going up, and all the leading indicators of growth are really strong, but people are maybe more reluctant to fill out a form because maybe they know they don't have budget, or they're not sure if they can add any new tools. And I see the same thing on my end. We're very conservative with what we spend our money on with technology. And so we've had to kind of go back to field marketing. Like, we went to Zendesk and had a presence there, a conference they had last week in Vegas. We've had to do a lot more customer marketing and just kind of like educating our customers and making sure that they know how to use the product and really expanding within those things. So I think newer has been a little more challenging to grow as fast as it was in the past, just because in the past people had unlimited money with VC backing and things. So there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese, which is kind of a pretty standard like sales book, and it's about really finding when where you thought stuff was coming from is gone. You have to really adapt and find new ways to generate business. And for us, like, we've always had really strong signups of our product. We have a freemium engine. So I've spent a lot of focus on getting the most out of making sure those people find value with onboarding very quickly. We have a good feature set for them to upgrade. And then also just like trying out new R&D with new stuff for acquisition outside of just signups.
And with Zight, how do you see you guys positioned within the competitive landscape? Are there specific ways that you really differentiate yourself from other platforms that offer this similar services?
Yeah, so we've kind of become the only all-in-one platform for video. So I mentioned a few of our tools. We have screenshot, we have screen recording, we have GIF, we have annotations, so you can put arrows and things on videos and screenshots. We also have the smart actions, which is kind of the automated documentation based on your transcript. And then we also have a meeting recorder. So I could record this meeting between you and I and get notes on that later on. So we have kind of a full platform of solutions. So we're able to go up against mainly just point solutions and saying, hey, instead of having these 3-4 separate tools, you can really just use us, and it's going to save you money.
That's great because I do feel like nowadays there's so many tools out there, but you're having to have subscriptions to, like you said, 3 or 5 different tools to meet the same outcome there. How have you seen customer expectations change over the last few years, and how is Zeit evolving to respond to those expectations?
I think I bring in the analogy of, like, with real estate, there's like, a buyer's market and a seller's market. I think it's a seller's market in that there's just a lot of control with customers. It's a customer market, you could say. They can say, hey, come in negotiations and ask for a lot of changes. They can ask for price cuts and upgrades and things. And I mean, we do the same thing I've mentioned with our tool sets. So I think it's just there's a big focus by companies focused on retention and just reducing churn. And a lot of that has to do with just making sure your customers are happy, they're using the product. So we've made a focus on relying a lot on our customer advisory board of customers that we invite to try out new products and getting a lot of feedback. We've always done this, but a little more focus on that, a little more frequency. And then also just finding out what customer requests our customers are making and seeing if there's a trend there so we can put it on our roadmap and not just have one-off requests, but features like request video we just released as beta. And that was something that our customers, several customers have requested for a while. And we started to notice a trend there. And so we put some effort into putting it out. It really is, it's always a customer game, making sure people are happy, but for sure in times of war, when the market's a little less steady, it's definitely like make sure our customers are extra happy. We're taking care of them, using them as partners.
So I want to shift gears here. And I know you talked a little bit about different strategies, but move a little bit into growth. It's always interesting to hear how different companies are getting the word out and scaling their outreach. What channels or strategies have worked best for you when it comes to user acquisition or brand awareness?
Yeah. And this is not like any of my competitors who are like watching us, they have data on us. So this is not news per se, but we've always really excelled in organic. And that's one thing I really enjoy. I see paid as a minor league team and organic is kind of the majors. Like I'd rather own the term rather than pay for it. So really we're top in class in organic. I'm not going to, divulge all the secrets there, but it's also a really good moat. Paid, say we have a company who raises a ton of money or they get acquired, they can immediately start just crushing you with paid because they just have a larger budget. But organic, it's going to take them a concerted effort for 9 to 12 months. And guess what else? SEO helps with ChatGPT. So we rank fairly well when you search certain terms with ChatGPT, which could very much, be the future of search. And at the moment, ChatGPT relies on search engine results, which are, powered by SEO. So we see it as kind of a moat for the present and also for the future.
And I know that you mentioned your free option to start getting users onto your service. So, how do you balance that product led growth with traditional sales and marketing efforts?
Yeah, so product led growth is huge for us. There's lots of reasons why. One, we just always have an influx of new signups. So they're going to get our onboarding, they're going to get a free trial of the team product. They're going to be able to test out all the AI features. And then, eventually those are going to go away after their trial. And so ideally they'll find the value in them and want to pay for them. The second is if I create a video and I share it with you, Sarah, you're going to get a viewer page of that video if you click on the link and it's going to say try Zight for free up in the corner. And so we have hundreds of thousands of these videos and screenshot pages being sent out. And they're just digital marketing billboards for us where people are like, hey, this is actually pretty cool. This video that someone sent me. Maybe I will try out Zight. And it's just a really click easy button. You can sign in with Google and you're set up with the product within a couple of seconds. Product led growth is big for us. And those digital billboards are a really important piece of our marketing.
So, of course, with growth, there usually comes some challenges along the way. What are the biggest challenges that you're currently facing, either internally or within the market, as you guys continue to grow?
Sure. I think there's always a challenge with a startup. There's always the challenge of just keeping what you have going and scaling that, but also having effort into R&D with new channels and things. You only have my budget at Adobe was insane. I won't say how much it was, but it was a lot. And I feel like I could do pretty much whatever I wanted. Zight, obviously we're a startup, much smaller than Adobe. I have to be a little bit more calculated. Like if we want to go to Zendesk, then I need to cut back on digital spend and other things to kind of pay for that conference expense. So it's always a little bit of like, it's easy to like, if you go to a restaurant that you love, you probably get the same two items every time, even though you really want to try that third or fourth thing. It can be like that as leading marketing. You're like, I really want to try this field event, but man, SEO and this meta investment is really paying off. So you really kind of have to jump off the cliff and hope that the parachute works type of thing. And sometimes you'll fail a lot, actually. But you do kind of have to invest 10 to 20% in new R&D stuff and hopefully some of those channels hit and they become a new piece of your plan.
And are there any recurring pain points for your customers that you're trying to solve in new ways?
That's a great question. I think a interesting piece of AI, like obviously that's a big part of everything, but a lot of companies are resistant to add AI features. They don't want their data part of, at least like larger companies, their IT and security teams are very concerned about their data being part of the AI learning. And so I think that's something that is happening right now, that even though we have super great features, I've heard about this from other marketing executives I have as well. Like they have great AI features, but some of their bigger customers are reluctant to add those on for those reasons. So I think with AI, there's a little bit of a waiting period, I think, of just trusting that there's safety and security. And so we focus a lot of our messaging on that, of like, hey, we're SOC 2 compliant. We have kind of been built on platform security for businesses, and we don't use AI data for the relearning of how it's trained unless you wanted us to, per se. So that's kind of something I think a lot of businesses are coming up against.
Mhm. And how do you personally handle the highs and lows of building and scaling a business like Zight?
I'm a little more weathered now. I was very stressed and anxious as a first time CMO. I thought about it consistently. I was always nervous that my job was on the line. I think that's mostly gone away. Like I see board meetings as more of like really good feedback, and they're, part of the team versus like a really anxiety driven thing that I used to be nervous about. I have good goals. I have a good team. I think I really know what we need to focus on. So I definitely feel much more comfortable now than I used to. And I really think it's a focus on just having like 3 or 4 wildly important goals or metrics. Like too many people try and do too many things, and you really gotta break it down. It's the Franklin Covey model, where they kind of came up with quarters for business, like, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago. It really is valuable to kind of break stuff up into a quarter, focus on a few things, and getting those things done and really doing them well.
So that transitions nicely into my next question of what are your top 2 to 3 goals on your roadmap over the next 12 months?
Sure. So I've had kind of the same 3 metrics basically since I've been a CMO. And I kind of learned this from Adobe too. Like for marketing, it's leads, pipeline, revenue. Those are, or, revenue could be tied to CAC, is also really important, customer acquisition cost. So those are the ones that I'm always looking at. I look at those by channel. I figure out where I can invest different ways, see which ways the conversions are happening, and all of my team's data funnels into that. So it's like, okay, if we need to make this much pipeline, we need to do this many email campaigns, we need to do this many social posts, we need to do this much paid on these channels, this many pieces of content. So it really helps me dial in those numbers on a really granular level. And then the last thing is really product focus. So it's like just making sure we have a ratio with like product adoption and making sure that that's going up, and then just like making sure everybody knows about our products when we release new ones. That's a big piece of marketing. And then lastly, I really just try and have a good focus on my team, making sure they're being developed, they're being praised, they're getting the support they need. I feel like I work for them as a leader, so making sure that they have what they need and I get out of the way.
Mhm. That's a really great perspective of that. If we were to check in a year from now, what would success look like for you and for Zight?
That's a great question. I think for me, it's just seeing more meetings canceled and more Zight videos used. I think it's less time spent on documentation. And it's really just like, hey, we're an established product. And so a lot of people are using our AI. And so it's just like making sure that they're using it effectively and getting the most out of it, I think, because it is such a productivity tool and communication tool. And it's such a great way to connect with people, and it adds tone. With Slack, sometimes tone, it cannot be seen or heard. And so it really helps add clarity to connections within a team.
Mhm. And before we wrap, I just want to leave our audience with a key takeaway. So, to close us out, what's one piece of advice you'd give to other leaders in the tech or SaaS space who are trying to innovate, grow, and kind of stay ahead of today's fast moving market?
Well, any leader, like you have to have a good culture. You really have to have a good focus on your team. Recognize that there's life outside of work and making sure that your team feels supported, enabled, and they will really make you look really good. I've learned just as much from bad leaders as I have from good leaders. And the good leaders gave all the credit to their team, and that, gave them the acknowledgement that they needed from other people. The bad ones took all the glory and kind of made their teams eventually would leave them, and then they have to hire new people. And it's just, you can't get away from having good people. So the other side of that is you should want them to leave at some point. It probably means that they're going to take a new leadership role of their own. So don't be shy of developing and giving opportunities to people, because I actually really love it when my coaching tree is out there and they're directors at other companies or they're CMOs themselves. That feels really cool to me.
Yeah, that's really great. And if anyone wants to learn more about Zight or connect with you, what would be the best place?
Yeah, Zight.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Joe Martin. And then I'm also on Twitter or X, whatever, Joe D. Marty. And then you can find me if you want on Instagram and TikTok. Legend.airy.one is my thing there. And I usually post about leadership techniques and things that I've done along the way.
Perfect. Well, I'll also include all this information in our posts. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Mo's Market Pulse. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a comment, and join us again to hear more insights from leaders coming up on future episodes. Thank you so much again for joining us today, Joe.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.